All right, good morning, everybody. What's going on? Big fight coming up this weekend that may not be the highest profile fight. Obviously, it's not going to be Fury Wilder 3 from a mainstream media standpoint, but definitely a very intriguing matchup between Shakur Stevenson and Jamel Herring. Jamel Herring will be defending his WBO 130-pound title. And like I said, very intriguing matchup. Now, Herring is a huge underdog here at a plus 500, and Stevenson is a minus 900, right? So, not many people are giving Herring a chance here, but Herring is the bigger guy at 5'10 with a 72-inch reach, and Shakur Stevenson is 5'7 with the 68-inch reach. Now, okay, he's the bigger guy, but that doesn't mean the bigger guy always wins, right? Because it's all about skills, right? And Stevenson definitely, silver medalist in the Olympics, good amateur background, well-schooled fighter, definitely has skills. He's the faster guy with foot speed and hand speed. Both guys aren't huge punchers, but Herring at 130 pounds seems to be punching with a little bit more authority. He's stepping in with shots. He's fighting more aggressively, in my opinion, at 130 than he was at 135. And I think he's a better fighter at 130 than he was at 35. He's able to be the bigger man at 130. He's a huge super featherweight, like I said, at 5'10", 72-inch reach. And Stevenson will be the smaller man here, right? And the thing I don't like about Stevenson is, as I said several times, no fighter likes to get hit, right? But some fighters, I believe, are overly concerned with it, and you can tell that they fight tentatively because of it, right? And Stevenson's one of those guys where he's sort of an ambush type style, right? He's an ambush type style guy. And, he likes to go in and out, but he can also be a good counterpuncher off the back foot. It's definitely a good counterpuncher off the back foot. And I do believe that Herring will be the aggressor in this fight. He will be the guy coming forward because he's going to have to be, right? He's going to have to be. Stevenson is that quick, crafty southpaw. But Herring is a guy, even though he's big, he's really versatile as a fighter. He has a great jab. And I know a lot of times we say, the jab is an important punch. It's the key to winning fights. It's the key to boxing in general, right? It's the most important punch. So it's the old cliche about the jab that gets repeated over and over again. But why is a jab an important punch? And what makes it so effective for a fighter? Well, I believe a fighter who has a good jab, I would classify someone having a good jab as, by a fighter who, utilizes it properly, right? Throws it with the purpose, because you can say, oh, the guy's got a good jab, but why does he have a good jab, right? And I think Herring has a good jab because he knows how to use it properly and in a variety of different ways. He throws the jab overtime in fights, right? And it's in his title-winning effort against Masayoko Ito. It was a very, very effective weapon, keeping the smaller man at bay, because Ito's a type of guy that likes to go in and out too. He's sort of an ambush fighter. Obviously, doesn't have the athletic ability of a Stevenson, but how do you beat a counterpuncher? How do you beat an ambush guy? You got to break the rhythm, right? Because those types of fighters tend to be pattern fighters, right? They fight with a specific rhythm, like in and out, and you got to time when they're going in and when they're going back out to reset. And how do you do that? You got to utilize the jab, right? You got to be able to throw the jab, not in a repetitive way, because a lot of fighters just throw the jab for the sake of throwing the jab. And as I said, they don't always have a purpose for it. Herring, I believe, does have a purpose. He knows how to time guys very well when they come forward. He knows how to step in with it, throw it in, with a different rhythm, different speed, moves it around. He can, go to the body, throw it at your chest. And it's going to be very important in this fight. And I think he's going to utilize it to the fullest of his ability. I think the jab is going to be working overtime for Herring. And Stevenson, being the southpaw, their jabs are going to be, their lead hands are going to be out in front, right? So it's very important for Herring to get, the lead hand control and the lead foot control in this fight, because he does not want to give Stevenson the punching angle, right? He wants to take that punching angle away from the southpaw. And because he's the taller guy, both guys are going to be jabbing. He's going to be jabbing over the top of Stevenson's jab. So I think Stevenson's going to have a hard time getting his jab off, being the shorter guy, right, with the shorter reach. And Stevenson does bend his knees a lot. He does kind of fight small, but Herring does fight tall very well when he's on the outside. So even though Stevenson's only giving up about 3 inches in height and 4 inches in reach, 4 inches in reach is pretty substantial in the sport of boxing, if you know how to use it correctly, which I do believe Herring will be using correctly in this fight. So the thing is, I just think that because of that, I think you're going to see Herring's jab going over the top of Stevenson's jab when Stevenson does try to come in. And Stevenson doesn't like to go all the way in the pocket. He's more of a mid-range guy, quick flurries, and then he's out. And as I said, he's not really a guy that sits down on his shots, because I think he's so concerned about his exit strategy. So when he's going in, he's already thinking about his exit strategy. So he's in, he's going bop, 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 almost like playing a game of tag, and his feet are already out before the combination is finished. Herring is a different kettle of fish, I believe. Now, as I said, Stevenson is the quicker guy, but I don't think the speed difference is going to be as great as people anticipate. I think Herring, is a pretty athletic guy himself, right? I don't think he's a slow guy. I think he's a very good boxer. So I think the key to this fight is Herring, like I said, using the jab in overtime to offset the ambush attacks from Stevenson, right? And also, he's got to be busy with the jab to not allow Stevenson to suck him into traps, right? So he's got to keep Stevenson guessing when the power shots are coming. He's got to knock him off balance a little bit with that jab, right? And I think, Herring is great at doing that. We've seen him do it against Ito, seen him do it against Frampton, and he did utilize his size in that fight, and he was the bigger man. So he may have to rough up Stevenson a little bit in this fight. He's going to have to be the aggressor, because Stevenson is not going to be the aggressor. He's going to try to steal rounds by throwing quick flurries and getting in and out. And Herring can't allow him to do that. He can't allow him to win ticky-tack rounds by, just throwing quick flurries. He can't allow him to be Sugar Ray Leonard as Sugar Ray Leonard was against Marvin Hagler back in their classic fight in 1987, right? So he can't allow him to do that. So he's got to be the boss in there, and he's got to step to Shakur, and he's got to take those legs away, right? He's got to back him up. And we know Shakur can fight well off the back foot, right? But how well will he fight when he's being pressured and forced back, right? He's going to be forced back in this fight, I believe, by the bigger, taller, and longer Herring, right? I know Herring is gonna have a strategy where he's gonna try to be the boss here. He's gonna try to be the physical guy. So I think he's going to try to back Stevenson up and even step inside and maybe lean on Stevenson, go to the body, because once again, Herring is a really decent inside fighter. He's a good body puncher. He knows how to shorten his shots up well on the inside. We don't see Stevenson spend a lot of time deep in the pocket grinding it out with guys. Now, he was in there, with Joet Gonzalez, the guy that we just saw in with Navarrete. I had Navarrete winning that fight 9-3. Joet Gonzalez had a couple good moments in that fight, particularly with the right hand. But once again, Joet Gonzalez isn't the most athletically gifted guy in the world, not the quickest guy in the world. He's not the biggest puncher in the world, right? And he doesn't use a jab. He doesn't throw a lot of jabs. So there's nothing coming at Shakur Stevenson in that fight to throw off the rhythm. Where in this fight, I think this jab is going to have a big effect on Shakur Stevenson, and it's going to prevent him and give him trouble getting his offense off as easily as he normally has been able to do in other fights, right? So Herring's a huge underdog here. No one's given him any shot. He was an underdog against Ito. He was a plus 200 in that fight. Now, obviously, that's not a plus 500, so the odds weren't as great as they are here. But he overcame those odds. Right? And he won the title from Ito, right? So shout out to him in that fight. But he did it with the jab. He did it stepping forward. He did it being the bigger man. And he's going to have to be the bigger man in this fight. And I think he knows that. And I think that is going to be the game plan. This guy likes to move. He likes to knock people into traps. He likes to go in and throw quick flurries and dart out and he has to go in and out quick. So he's going to drop off the mail, boom, 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 boom. But he's not going to be there for the receipt, or he's going to try to not be there for the receipt. So the key is when he goes back out, we're going to have to follow him back out with the jab. So key here is to constantly touch Stevenson to knock off his rhythm, right? And throw a lot of punches, particularly the jab. Do not allow him to get comfortable and set in a rhythm where he's going to be able to be the counterpuncher. Don't allow him to walk in without touching him with that jab, right? And when he does go back out, you got to follow him back out there, and you got to trap him on the ropes. You got to take the escape route away from Stevenson, because Stevenson's going to be going in, going out, and he's going to try to make you chase him. He's going to try to create angles against Herring, and Herring's got to be able to take those angles away. So he's going to be darting out and sliding off to the side. Herring has got to beat him to that spot and not allow him to have that angle. So Herring's got to constantly front him in this fight, to not allow him to get those punching angles against him. And that's where the lead hand and the lead foot control is going to be very important here. And we talk about that a lot when the Southpaw's fighting an Orthodox fighter. And we talked about it when Joshua fought Usyk. And, goes without saying how important that is. Thank you so much, Ohio Runs Boxing. Appreciate that. So, like I said, I think Herring's a smart guy. I think he's got very good boxing skills, right? I think at 130 pounds, he's a better fighter than he was at 135. He had that loss against Denis Shafikov at 135. That was the most notable loss. Had an earlier loss in his career as well. But at 130, I think this is his weight class. I think he's shown that he's the much bigger man against everyone he fights. And he's being able to utilize his height and reach at 130 very effectively. The guys down at 130 don't hit as hard as the guys at 135. He's got some decent wins on his record against Art Harvanesian, Lamont Roach, and again, that big title winning performance against Masahiro Ito. It was a great fight. I thought it was a very dominant performance, and Ito is a solid champion. His only other two losses were majority decision losses, so he's only really been beaten thoroughly and clearly by Herring. And I don't want to take too much away from Stevenson, even though I don't think both guys have a stellar resume. I do think Herring's got a slightly better resume. He's fought at 130 longer. He's had 5 fights at 130. Stevenson's had 3 fights at 130. But still, Stevenson, I think, can carry the 130-pound weight. I don't think that's a step too far for him, and he's got some decent wins. He beat Christopher Diaz. That was his first loss that he gave Christopher Diaz, Joet Gonzalez as well. But I just saw some things in the Nakadelia fight in his last performance And then I didn't like him. I mean, he was in there with a guy who wasn't really being aggressive, a guy who he had significant advantages in foot speed and hand speed. He won virtually every round, maybe lost 1 or 2 rounds at the most, maybe 1 round. But his mentality was safety first. And I think that's always been his mentality as a fighter. And at some point, you got to get a fighter's respect. And I think if he approaches this fight in a safety first fashion, I think Herring is going to take advantage of that. Herring knows he's got to be the aggressor. Herring knows he's got to throw a lot of punches. Herring knows he's got to be the bigger man, and he knows he's got to take away the movement, and he's got to use that jab to offset Stevenson's counterpunching and Stevenson's ambush in and out attacks, right? But one thing, like I said, that is very underrated with Herring is his versatility as a fighter. He's a very well-schooled fighter. He's a good combination puncher. He's got Bomac as the trainer, and I think that has made a big impact on him. I think Bomac is a type of trainer that he tries to show fighters other ways to win, not just one way to win. He likes to, develop a wide array of skills with the fighter. We see how Crawford is. Crawford's a very versatile guy, and I think Herring has shown that dog in him, where Stevenson doesn't have that dog in him, where he's going to just get in the pocket in spots and grind it out when he has to. Herring will do that. We've seen Herring do that. We've seen him be the bigger man against Frampton and bully Frampton. He's going to have to be the bully in this fight. He's going to have to be the bully in this fight. And let's see if Shakur can stand up to the bully. Let's see if Shakur, when he's being pressured, let's see if he'll show calm under fire. Because this is the biggest fight of Shakur Stevenson's career, right? And you could argue that it's the biggest fight of Herring's career, but again, he was in there with Ito. He was in there with Frampton, so he rose to the occasion. People want to criticize the Akendo fight, but he was in control of that fight. He was still winning rounds, and Akendo was headbutting him, and he just continued to headbutt him. At some point, the ref had to step in and stop the fight. You can't have it both ways, guys, because we've seen guys that continuously foul, and then we criticize the ref for not doing anything. Well, the ref did something in this instance, and rightfully so. So how do I see this fight playing out, and who do I got, and who am I recommending? I think, like I said, I think Herring is very live here. I think he's going to win the fight. I think, you can make a small little play here, a little small value play, a little tickle on Herring, because I think he will be the bigger man. I think he will use the jab effectively in this fight to disrupt and offset Shakur Stevenson's offense, right? And I think he'll step to Stevenson, be the aggressor, and I think he'll smother Stevenson. See, the big thing in this fight for Herring is keeping Stevenson out of the mid-range and taking the sweet spot away from Stevenson, because Stevenson likes to get in the mid-range, like in that little mid-range area of the pocket, pop, 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 and slide back and pivot out to the side, right? So what Herring has to do here is he has to keep him on the outside, right? And then when he wants to step forward, he can go all the way in and smother Stevenson's speed, because what do? I've always said too, a great effective way to combat speed is you smother it, right? Like a fire. What do you do with a fire? You don't want it to spread fast. You blanket it, right? So if Herring's going to fight him, he's got to either keep him on the outside or go all the way in. Because even though Herring does have those long arms, like I said, he knows how to rip those body shots up close, those short hooks and those short uppercuts on the inside, right? So the thing is keep Stevenson out of the mid-range. Don't stand in the center of the ring with him. You got to constantly back him up to the ropes or in the corner, right? And take that mid-range area away from him. I know that's a mouthful, but I think Stevenson can do it. And he's going to, I think Herring can do it. And I think if Stevenson doesn't throw something with any type of authority to get Herring's attention, and Herring is going to keep coming forward. He's going to keep stepping hard with that jab, and he's going to keep trying to push Stevenson back. And he's going to be the guy that's throwing more punches. So, based off of the sheer volume and the work rate, I think it's going to be hard for the judges to not give Herring rounds here if Stevenson is constantly retreating and constantly being pushed back, right? So we'll see if I'm right with Herring being able to deal with Stevenson's speed, because like I said, even though he's quicker, I don't think the gap is as wide as people are saying. He's got incredible defensive reflexes as well, Stevenson, but once again, let's see what happens if he's put in a situation where he's running out of ring and he can't move because Stevenson is being pushed back consistently by Herring. So I think Herring will be the busier guy. I think he'll be effective on the outside, and I think he'll be effective on the inside. Where he's got to be careful is in the mid-range and in the center of the ring. So Herring's got to push Stevenson back, take the center of the ring away from him, keep him on the ropes, keep him in the corners, and he's got to use that jab over time. And also he's got to go to the body to take those legs away from Stevenson. So I'm picking Herring here, and I'm recommending a small play at the plus 500. Little tickle. Doesn't have to be the rent money, right? Little tickle on Herring to win a hard-fought, tough, unanimous decision. I think this is going to be, some of these rounds are going to be hard to score. I think this is going to be a case of quantity versus quality in some cases here, because Stevenson is an accurate puncher. He does know how to thread the needle. You give him that little inch, he knows how to take advantage of that, and he'll get a shot in there, even though it's not going to be the hardest shot, even though he may not sit down on it, but he knows how to land those sneaky shots, particularly with that left hand, right? So like I said, I'm going to go with the underdog here. Herring has rose to the occasion before when he's been the underdog, right? A lot of people didn't think he was going to beat Frampton, even though he was this, it was virtually a pick 'em fight with the odds makers. But just like he upset the apple cart against Ito in his title winning effort, I think he's going to upset the apple cart here, and he's going to surprise a lot of people, right? He's going to surprise a lot of people. And I think he's going to push Stevenson to that place where he's never been before. And I'm not so sure Stevenson's going to be able to deal with it and react accordingly. So we're going here with Herring at the plus 500. We're going with the underdog here. Herring is live. I think he's going to win the fight. And I'll be doing a live cast for that fight because I'm really interested in the fight. And I love doing those live casts. So hopefully you all come back and join me for that. Make sure you check out the Ringside Reporter podcast every Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you check out the Roundtable, 8 p.m. Eastern time with myself, D-Style Boxing, and G Funky and Maestro, and a lot of special guest panelists that we have from week to week. So that will be on Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern time. That particular show, sometimes it's on my channel, sometimes it's on Maestro's channel, sometimes it's on G Funky's channel. But this week it will be, I believe, on Maestro's channel, if I'm not mistaken. But I'll let you know if anything changes. Beeb is out. Talk to y'all soon. Stay safe. Thank you, everyone, for watching the video. Make sure you share, like, and subscribe the video. Jamel Herring, Semper Fi, will rise to the occasion on Saturday night, and he will pull off the upset. You heard it here first. Beeb is out. Peace. Stay safe. Talk to y'all soon. Have a good day, everyone.